live.
Ready.
So you're currently on your okay. So we were talking about you getting your license. Well,
Yes.
why'd you get your first license? Why'd you want to become a pilot? Let's go with that.
Well, so ever since I was 4, I grew up in Nigeria, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I used to see planes flying all around and everything. And I got so fascinated. I always asked my dad like questions, dumb questions like that. Can like planes like stuff with fuel in the air and stuff like that? And he was like, "Why are you so obsessed with planes?" He bought me like a little jet toy, and I was so obsessed. So I always knew I wanted like the opportunity to become a pilot at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
So funny story. I came here after high school. In Nigeria, we finished high school at 16.
Okay.
So I stayed an extra year. Then 17 years old, I came here 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I came to this country, and I was like, okay, I was born here, by the way, but I was raised in Nigeria.
Okay.
I thought about what's the fastest way because I always wanted to be a pilot. So I went through community college, Prairie State College in
Mhm.
suburbs. 2014, I enlisted to join the Air Force. I went to MEPS and everything, right? So now because I came from Africa, I was like 19-year-old and I was like 110 pounds. That's how I was so skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And literally the Air Force rejected me. They were like, yo, go eat some more. Come back. Like, you're too skinny, bro. I was in MEPS ready to be processed. My recruiter kept trying to get me to eat that day. I just needed to be shipped out. So the Air Force rejected me, and I was like, I was in my feelings. I was like, dang, like, is this a setback? But yeah, I forgot about the military, started working out, going to the gym because I took offense to that, like Air Force can reject you. You know how bad you have to be. So in 2019, I was in the gym. It's when like the 2018, actually, I was in the gym and the Marine recruiters were there. I could crank pull-ups, that's when they came to me, talk to me.
Yeah.
And this is like a whole different, pathway from what I wanted to do. But I joined the Marines because, he showed me some motivational videos. And, for U.S. history from there. So while I was in the Marines, with your military benefits, your GI Bill, you can get aviation school paid for.
Oh,
Yeah. So
I didn't know
yes,
that.
yep. I would say any Marine or any military individual watching out there, if you want to go to aviation school, so how you can use your GI Bill to pay for school,
Mm-hmm.
you can pay for aviation school too, but with some conditions. So, let's go into aviation now. There's a Part 61 program and
Mm-hmm.
there's a Part 141 program.
What's the difference?
So 61 is going to aviation as a trade. Like you don't get a degree out of it. Like what I'm currently doing, you just go over there, go to the school. You get your licenses. You get all you can work in the airlines too you can become a captain. The only difference is with Part 141, you go to a university program, right?
Is that what you're doing?
Same thing. No, I started off with that.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm Part 61 now.
Okay.
So after you get your degree in aviation, like Liberty University offers that. You get your degree in aviation. So the biggest difference, you have a degree and you don't have a degree. That's all. Everything you learn is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off with Liberty University. They are in I believe West Virginia, but they have pilot affiliate schools. So they have like collaboration with other aviation schools around the country. So one of the aviation schools was JA Flight School, is in Illinois, Sugar Grove, Illinois. So I went through Liberty University. You have to do like a semester or two to get into their course, and you can use your JIBL to pay for it too.
Okay.
So if you're going Part 141 through university, your JIBL can pay for it. But if you're going Part 61 without a university, it's considered a trade.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a trade, you can't use a JIBL for it. You can only use you have to get a loan, or if you have a lot of money, but you can get scholarships. You can apply for aviation scholarships.
Yeah.
I have some aviation scholarship, and I'm also paying out of pocket.
Okay.
So with the Liberty University, I started off with that, but the school schedule was not correlating with my flight training progress.
Mm-hmm.
The semester has to finish under 3 months. Your first license, the private pilot license, which I got, a lot of people, it's realistic to get it under 3 months, but with me, it took me 4 or 5 months. I forgot to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the school semester was already over.
Yeah.
So they're like, when you're done with the license, just come check in with us. Then you can start the next semester with your other license. So that kind of program did not work for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the school had their requirement. They wanted you to write essays, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the flight school I was going to, your real-time progress is different, It's all mental. Like, no one is ever ready. There's a minimum requirement of hours, like 40 hours for you to get your license. But no one is ever ready at the minimum hours required.
Yeah.
If you never have an aviation background and you wanted to, you're flying for the first time, you have to get rid of the mental aspect of, flying. You have to get used to turbulence shaking you left and right. So I was the kind of person I couldn't even like open my eyes in a roller coaster. Imagine wanting to be a pilot, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're like, you cannot open your eyes on a roller coaster. So I have to get through the mental aspect of that. So someone told me, one of the pilots there, the chief pilot told me, hey, like aviation training is exciting. You're gonna like, hey, I'm flying a plane. You're gonna be so, you're on Instagram recording, hey. But when it gets to the point where you are in charge of the plane, you start to control the plane. You have to make real life decisions during your training.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to hit a block. It happens to everybody. Like you're going to hit a block where you're going to consider, wait, is this really for me? Do I want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
But once you hit that block, everyone hits that block. But if you're able to get through that phase, the rest of aviation training will be smooth for you. And I thank God he told me that, because when I started questioning myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I had that mental note that, okay, this is the block he's talking about.
Yeah.
This is like the wall he's talking about. I got through. I just kept on watching YouTube videos from experienced pilots. I did a lot of self-studying, and I got through that first phase, and from there it was like history.
Yeah. How long does it took you? 4 to 5 months, that initial phase.
So okay, there are, depending on the kind of program you have, there are, okay, I'm gonna list out all the licenses. So when you start, you get your private pilot license.
Okay.
That's the first initial. So the restrictions to that is, with the private pilot license, you can take passengers with you, right? Like
Mhm.
2 or 3. You'll find like a single engine plane,
Yeah.
like you have a capacity of like 3 passengers, 1 in the front, 2 in the back, plus you 4.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, when you get your license, you can carry your friends and everything, but you can't get paid to fly. So if someone who has a private pilot license is taking you flying, they are not legally allowed by the FAA to get paid for that flight.
Oh,
So
okay.
all your friends have to. And so if your friends want to contribute money for the flight,
Mm-hmm.
They have to pay what they call the prorated share. So the prorated share means you have to, if the fuel and the cost of the fuel and everything, the plane rental costs $100, you have to pay, and there are 4 passengers altogether, you have to pay $25. So you have to pay an equal amount of share.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 2 of you, you have to pay 50. Your friends can pay, but you can basically earn money with that first license.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then there are also limitations. You can't fly in bad weather. If like the cloud ceilings are too low, you cannot fly in the clouds. You have to avoid the clouds. They have cloud clearance requirements.
Okay.
Now, you can't fly without, if the visibility is less than 3 statute miles. So statute miles is like basically the distance you can see, the vertical distance,
Mm-hmm.
and the horizontal distance you can see. So there are a lot of restrictions with the first license.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Now, so that's the private pilot license. Now, after the private pilot license, you have the instrument rating. Now, the instrument rating, while it's not considered a license, but you do say, so let me go back to it. I overspoke. When your requirement for that license, you have to fly a certain amount of hours. You do a written test, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do, and for the written test, you have to score a 70% or above.
How many questions?
100 questions.
100 questions.
Yes.
So you can miss 30.
Yeah, but pretty much. So, and then after the written test, you keep on your training. You have cross-country requirements you have to meet. After you meet all your flight requirements for that, you have to get a federal examiner to interview you for you to get your license officially. So you have like 2 hours on average of sit-down conversations with the federal examiner. They will talk. It's like they call it a check ride, right?
Mm-hmm.
You sit down with the examiner for 2 hours, have an oral test, and he's gonna ask you questions for those 2 hours. It's insane, like the amount of scrutinization you go through. You can only fill a certain amount of questions. You can look up things. There's something they call the FAR aim. It's like a aviation book of regulations. There are different regulations. So if you don't know an answer, why he's asking you, you're allowed to look it up. Or you're allowed to look at the operating handbook of the aircraft, because they can add. So being a pilot too, there's more to being a pilot than just flying a plane.
Yeah.
You can learn how to drive a car, drive a truck, enter, how to drive, basic things like the fuel. But being a pilot is like being a lawyer and also being an engineer, because you have to know about the systems on your aircraft, how they work, You have to know about the federal regulations too, because there are different kind of airspace. There are certain airspaces like the one here is a Class B airspace. You can't fly into it without permission. If you fly into it without permission, you can get in trouble. And if you do that like more than once, you can lose your license. So you have to know it. So sometimes they'll ask you, hey, what is 91-211, right? And you're a pilot, but you have to be able to quote it like you're a lawyer. So there's a lot of like personal study that goes into it.
91-211 is like a paragraph.
Yeah, so it's like it's called the FAR. So it's more like the inspections, like
yeah.
They have like like the kind of equipment you need to fly in the plane during the day and night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like 91-211 is like the oxygen requirement. Sorry, oxygen requirement. So at a certain altitude, right? At a certain altitude, you need like supplemental oxygen to fly. If not, if your plane is not what they call pressurized, right? If you fly in that altitude, you know what I'm saying, you might start like getting woozy, losing consciousness.
Yeah.
So if you're like 12,000 feet, you have to have that supplemental oxygen. So 91-211 is for supplemental oxygen. They have like regulations for inspections, regulations. So if one component of the plane is not working, there are certain components that are critical to flight where you can't take off without those components working. There are some components that are basic that you can still take off with them. So you have to know all those regulations, there are certain acronyms. So you learn the regulations, you learn the systems of the plane, then you learn some, general aerodynamics of the plane. So the interviewer, they have what they call the ACS. That's what they call the Airman Certification Standards. They will ask you every question the ACS states, or one question out of every category. And if you pass it, you do good with it. I know it sounds like a lot, but believe me, when you're in that mental space, when you're studying, it's like anything. It's like going through high school. Once you learn it, you study it, you learn it, and it's not hard. It's now that I'm talking about it because it's one of those things you're not in it yet, so it sounds so impossible. But I've noticed like aviation is like one of these things where you think it's so complex, but when you get into it, it's like driving a car, which is extra stipulations. That's what it is.
Extra stipulations and passengers.
Yes. So again, you have the instrument rating too. That's the second rating you get. It's not considered a license or rating, but with this instrument rating, if you have like fog, you have low ceilings, you have clouds, you can fly into clouds now. So that's the second one you get. It's very good to have. If you think about it, right? With instrument rating, there's what they call VFR, visual flight rules, and IFR, instrument flight rules. So if you have your private pilot license, that's the first one. You fall under what they call the visual flight rules. So basically, again, you can fly as high as you can see, or in good weather conditions, right?
Yeah.
When you're traveling to like Miami, any country, those pilots are flying like 20, 25,000 feet, 33. You can't see anything on the ground. You can't make reference to anything on the ground.
Yeah.
Flying that high.
I've skydived, and the highest I've skydived was 15,000.
You're right.
And we had like a couple minute window because it was a cloudy day.
Right.
So they kind of skipped the safety. But yeah, no, everything looks so tiny from up there.
So they can't make reference to any, this is this town, this is the city. We have like an iPad, we have what they call an app called ForeFlight, we fly with, that tracks your flying as you go. It's like a aviation GPS. But for you to fly that high, you need and that's about above 18,000 feet MSL, mean sea level. So that's the measurement we use. You have to have an instrument rating too. So because again, you fly based off like ForeFlight or your section on your map and instruction from air traffic control. Okay. So you need your instrument is you can't have any sort of like real career in like the airlines or regionals without having an instrument rating. Now the next one is commercial, which the stage I just got my check right. With commercial now you can get paid to fly for compensation. So when you get the commercial license, you can get paid to fly for compensation or hire, but there are certain stipulations to it too. That's why you always have to reference like that. You have to know, what I'm saying? Like you can for example, now I'm a commercial pilot, right? But I don't work for a commercial airline or nothing, right? So they want you for you to work for an airline, right? They have what they call an operator certificate, right? The operator certificate, they can schedule flight, they can terminate flights, they can cancel flights. So even though I have a commercial license, I can, if you had a plane and you were like, hey, Femi, can you take me to Miami? I'll pay you and everything. I can do that legally now. I can get paid for my services, right?
Yeah.
But I cannot, if I had my own plane, I can't advertise to you. They call it holding out. I cannot advertise to you that I'll take you from this place to this place with my plane. Now you have to pay me this amount, right?
Yeah.
That is not, for me to be able to do that, advertise myself and take you and schedule flights. I need an operator certificate, which the airlines have. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it still puts, but I can market myself. I can fly and get paid without no restrictions. I mean, with some restrictions. So that's what the commercial license I got is. That's what it makes you can get paid to fly, basically.
Yeah.
Or you have to know the stipulations that come with it. And now, after that, so every aircraft I've been flying so far is single engine. So the current phase, so a single engine plane, a plane with a propeller on the front, it has wings.
Yeah.
Like the Cessnas or the Piper Archer, they have a propeller on the front.
Yeah.
Now, the current phase I'm in right now is what they call the multi-engine. So twin engines, 2 engines on the wings, right? Now, it's a different kind of aerodynamics with it that comes with it. For you to be considered in the airlines, because all airlines have multi-engine.
Yeah, those
right?
things are fucking
Yes.
huge.
So you start with a small, you still propeller system, but twin engine planes. So you get your hours there, you get the multi-engine. So this phase is pretty much they'll fail one engine, right? And you have to fly with one engine.
They'll fail one?
Yeah, so one of them will fail, and you have to keep the plane stable, land with it, like do maneuvers with the failed engine. So in the single engine phase too, I forgot. I'm trying to gather my thoughts, but in the single engine phase, during your private pilot license, you do a couple of maneuvers, right? You do what they call stalls. You do what they call slow flights, engine failure emergency. So there are times where, so the craziest part of my training when I was going for my private pilot was when I'm flying, and my instructor would just kill the engine, like pull the power in front of me, and the plane is descending, and it's like, okay, he will relax like this. His name is Christopher Kenny, best instructor in the world, by the way. And he would be like, okay, because I was the kind of person, I'm vocal. I like to, talk, make silly jokes on the plane. And he will cut the power, and the plane is descending. And I remember the first time he asked me, what are you going to do now? We don't have any engine power. We're experiencing an engine failure. And I looked at him and I'm like, we're going to die. You know what I'm saying? So I looked at him. So, but they're like every aircraft has a checklist. So you always have to go through the checklist before, when you want to land, when you want to take off, when you want to taxi onto the runway, when you're cruising, you have to follow the checklist. So they have emergency procedures. So when they cut the engine, certain things, because we're simulating an engine failure, in case you're carrying passengers, your engine fails, you have to know what to do. So sometimes you won't even have the time to go through that checklist.
Yeah.
So you have to go through we have the A, B, C, D, E's in our head. A, engine failure. A is airspeed. There's what they call the best glide speed. You have to configure the plane 5 knots. There's what they call the airspeed indicator. It lets you know the amount of air, how fast your plane is moving through the air, basically. So you have to configure for 5 knots, be best field. You have to look around. Where's the best place to land, right? Like if there's an airport near you and you declare an emergency, right? Emergency will always take priority. So it doesn't matter what's happening, even if it's a restricted airspace, airport where you can't land. You can, if you have an emergency, you take priority. They will stop everything they're doing and they will accommodate you. Now, C is checklist. If you have time, you use your checklist. D, you declare an emergency. So you're not in an emergency until you officially declare to air traffic control, I'm declaring an emergency, and they will tell you a code to squawk. There's a code you put in the plane that you transmit a signal, letting them know, there's an emergency is about it happening right now.
Who does it transmit the signal to?
Air traffic control. Yeah, air traffic control. And once air traffic control have it, everybody, all operations stop. So it's funny with the codes, right? If you squawk, so if you put the code, they call it squawk. If you squawk 7,700, right? That's the emergency. If you squawk 7,600, right? that means you're having like a radio issue. If you squawk 7,500, that means someone is hijacking your plane. So they did that after 9/11, right? 7,500 on the plane. You don't even need to say anything. If you put it, the plane will automatically send that signal and they will say, oh, snap, there's someone there hijacking the plane.
Okay.
And they will take, before you see fighter jets on both sides, so they are different. The aviation rules are really organized to help you to the best of your ability. So another thing too, when you heard engine failure, right? And your heart just skipped, oh my God. But it's very common actually to have some sort of problems when you're flying. A lot of pilots have engine failures, so there's this stigma that, oh damn, any little thing that happens, we're dead up there. But I've come across an emergency myself when I'm up there. As long as like the structural integrity of your plane is good, like the wings are not broken, the plane, because they have like non-powered planes called gliders, can successfully glide them and land, right? So how they work is a powered aircraft, right? Like the one we fly, a cable is connected to the non-powered planes. You pull it up, they tow it up, and then you press the button to release the cable, and you can glide with the gliders. They don't have any engine power, and you can land. Yes, I will show you a video after this. But so when a plane loses engine power, it becomes like a glider. You still have to like calculate your distance, like how much time it will take you to get to a runway. If there's no runway, the best field you can land,
Yeah.
And if there's no field, I don't know if you've seen videos, people landing on the highway. The pilots make that critical decision. Okay, this is the best place. Because if you want to land on a field and there's trees everywhere, that won't work, right? Or there's power cables, power lines everywhere. You have to make that decision. They call it aeronautical decision making. Well, okay, this is the best place and my best chance. So when the all fails, you have to just make that decision. So aviation training, you could be flying with your instructor, and at any phase, it can be teaching you something else entirely, and it will just cut the power. It's to get you in that mood where, okay, A, B, C, D, E, airspeed, best field, checklist, declare, ELT. They will do that throughout your training to have you, because again, you're going to have people's life in your hands,
Yeah.
So a lot of aviation incidents happen where, engine failures happen, but they don't always die because we are trained to do this. Now, if the wings of your plane break, right? Now that's different. Your plane can no longer support the weight. The aerodynamics change because part of what is keeping your aircraft balanced in the air is broken. Now you can start worrying and panicking about danger. You know what I'm saying? but as long as the plane is, the wings are good, the tail is good, no sort of damage. Emergencies is something we train for all the time. So,
and this is all the on hand experience. How much does so I have a thing where it's 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional learning, which is 2-dimensional is I keep forgetting who I got this from, but I keep feeling it. Because it's really good on putting things like this into perspective. 2-dimensional is where you learn the theory of it. So like you like doing your tests, reading your books, your oral tests. And then 3-dimensional is you on the plane.
Yes.
How much of the learning of reading actually transfer over and helps to the actual handling of a plane? Because when you're up there, your adrenaline, especially your first time, it's probably pumping.
Yes.
You probably forget all the stuff here that you read. And you're just like, now I'm on the air.
100%, right? 100%. That's why it's good to make sure you know everything on the ground. There's something called chair flying, right? Chair flying is you have your checklist with you, right? And you're assimilating what you would do in that condition while you're assuming on the plane, right? You're sitting on a chair, you have your checklist, you're assuming on the plane, and you go through the motions. So it's I'm telling you, before every flight, if you chair fly, like any lesson you want to do, you're gonna know about the lesson you're gonna do. Chair flight and get that experience in. You would it helps a lot. So when I first started, obviously you study a lot, especially when we're doing maneuvers like stalls. Stalls is something that I'll talk about, or the emergency descent or the emergency. Every single thing I learned on the ground, out of my head, the first time, it happens like without a doubt. It's gonna happen to you, because. But like anything in life, the more you do something, right, you're so used to, like, I fly almost every day now, it's like driving to me. And I don't think too hard about anything. You could, something could happen. And, obviously there's always going to be that adrenaline pumping, you know what I'm saying? But you get to the point where you can, once you get over, again, that part I was talking about, that part in aviation where you get to that mental block, right? Once you get over that phase where nothing phases you as much, you can now start to focus on, you know what I'm saying, on what to do, in those situations. So it's not that you don't know it, but at the time, if your life is in danger, you don't think about, your mind is telling you your life is in danger. You don't think about, oh, this is what I'm about. You just want to, your survival instinct kicks in. You want to just, oh my God, what do I, you panic. When you first start, for sure, like nothing land on the ground, but it's better to know it on the ground, right? Like, versus like you're up there, you have no idea of what you're doing. So that's why it's like good to like study, do pre-lessons. Your instructors will brief you about, what to study and what to do. Aviation is a lot of self-effort, they can teach you, but you have to constantly,
do a lot of chair flying.
Yes, chair flying. Or we have simulators too. I do that all the time. Like I go to my school, even on my off day, I come in. We have like flight simulators that simulate being. So actually that's like an advanced form of chair flying. And in my flight school, the flight simulators are free. You don't have to pay. Some flight schools you have to pay like maybe $40 an hour or so. But with my flight school, the simulator is for free. So you can enter there. If you know you're about to do this maneuvers, it's very, very close to the real thing.
Yeah.
Except you're not just actually there out in the air. But it feels the same way. So whenever I struggle with something, I just went to the simulator, went through the motions and everything, and flew, and I got significantly better.
Is that you said that flying is all about self? Is that you went to the simulators because you're like, I don't feel comfortable with it?
Yeah.
So other people can choose not to do that.
Yes. Yeah. So one of the things my first flight school, we had a simulator, right? But I didn't utilize it. My instructor was superb, by the way. He taught me very good. But you have to pay $40-$50 an hour. And I do my first flight school. This flight school is more expensive overall, but the simulator is free. I could come because we have like a code. I can go to school at 1 a.m. if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And whenever I flew, I kind of like, I debriefed with my instructor how the flight went, what happened, what I could improve on, what I could work on. And I have a list of what I need to work on. I just go to the simulator and do them. And if you could do it at the simulator, it would translate. The only thing that will make it different, if it doesn't translate, is because you're getting in your head. Because it's the same motions, the same control. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and obviously, like if you're flying, we don't have they have a full motion sim that goes with you, that moves left and right, or like a stagnant sim. You know what I'm saying? So we have the stagnant one, but it's still very better. It's about the flow. The flow of what to do in this situation. Or if you want to do any maneuvers, there's certain airspeeds you have to be under, certain configurations you have to put your plane under. If you can get all that motion in the sim, it's like a piece of cake to on the plane, actually. And I said bad in the sim, you can also set the weather. I set the bad weather conditions to make it harder for me in the sim. Because I know I won't die in the sim, Even conditions I won't do on the plane, So also, like, when you're training, there's what they call personal minimums, right? Again, if you're a private pilot or you are going for your private pilot license, there are certain conditions you can't fly under. Even experienced pilots, right? There's a lot of turbulence, there's thunderstorms. You cannot fly past a thunderstorm willingly. It's illegal.
What if there's no other choice? You just
don't. If you can, so before every flight, right? Any flight, training flight, when you become a commercial pilot, whatever, certain things you don't just go in a plane and get in there and fly for your pleasure. You have to get a weather briefing. You have to do a weight and balance. So you do like a weight and balance of all your passengers on the plane, or the capacity, and see how the performance will be. Like the takeoff performance, landing performance. You see the weight you can carry, the cargo you can carry. Like, okay, if we wanted to go fly now, I'll say, okay, hey, bro, let me see, what do you weigh? I'll have to compute my weight and balance information. What are you bringing? Are you bringing just a little bag or something to fly with? Or then I would, I'll probably book, oh, you're going to be bringing 15 pounds of load or cargo with you. Even though it's probably like 4 pounds, but you always want to give yourself more room for error. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'll impute all that in, and then I'll make a flight plan on where we're going. Okay, the destination airport, I'm going to make sure that, there's something they call NOTAMs. like notices you get for every airport. Okay, there's no like obstruction on the runway, you know, there's no limitations or all that. I'll do a fuel planning too, because the fuel, so we use aviation gas. The one you use on a single engine airplane is like, it weighs 6 pounds per gallon.
Yeah.
So, you know, and if you have like a plane with a capacity of like, you know what I'm saying, 56 gallons, you know what I'm saying, you have to say, okay, I'm going with this passenger. Let's say you have like 3, you know, plus size passengers, you know what I'm saying, on there, you know what I'm saying, and you go with this. You have to make sure, okay, I don't put the fuel, but because again, if you put 1 gallon, that's 6 pounds. 2 gallons, you know what I'm saying, 12 pounds. You know what I'm saying. So you have to do all those calculations, compute it,
Yeah.
and so if you don't put full fuel to accommodate the passengers, you have to make sure the fuel you have is enough to take you to your destination, bring you back, and with 45-minute extra. So you do, as pilots, we do all these calculations.
Yeah.
Before we fly.
That's what you say. You're engineer, lawyer, and a pilot.
You do. So you don't just enter the plane. I can't just say, "Oh, come in, let's enter the plane, fly." I have to create it. I start the flight plans like maybe 2 days prior. See the weather.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to. You can do a day, but because the weather can change possibly. But I start planning. Okay, this is what I have to do. If we're flying in longer distance too, you do more planning over there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that goes into like flight planning. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So to piggyback, engine was where I stopped, right?
Yeah.
Now a lot of flight schools stop here, multi-engine. You're done like with the aviation program. Now the U.S. regulations for you to work in the airlines, you need 1,500 flight hours. It didn't used to be like this changed 2016. I believe before 2016 it was like 600, 700. Don't quote me. Due to safety reasons, which you know it's fair, they increase the hours. So when I'm done with aviation school, I still have to like build my flight hours,
Yeah.
you know, to 1,500.
And so you start this when you get your third license?
No. Right from anytime you fly,
that goes into your
So even when you're learning to fly as student pilots, it adds already.
Okay.
So all your flight, but also you want to get like, so like the airlines, they value like multi-engine time. So it's very good to get. You could get your commercial license technically, get your hours, and if this was one of those markets where, you know, it was favorable, you know, just based off that alone, they can train you. But you want to like put yourself in the best position.
Okay.
So if you get turbine time, like jet turbine engines, multi-time, those counts more towards what they will consider.
Okay.
You get your multi-engine, and a lot of flight schools stop there. You know, you can go do other things like, you know, maybe, you know, fly, you know, make deliveries, you know, those people that went to go help contribute to California fires. Or you could be like a dust cropper. People who fly for agriculture, you know, there are a lot of things you can do that are not airline related. You know, you work for like DHL, UPS, you could fly for them. A lot of aviation job. So you do anything to get your flight hours together. Now, the most common way that a lot of people do it now, though, is being a flight instructor. So my school has, my program, right? I will be rounding up now, but with my program, I have to get the flight instructor 1 and flight instructor 2 license. So the flight instructor 1, you teach people private pilots and commercial stuff. And the flight instructor 2, you teach instruments. So they call it CFI, Certified Flight Instructor 1. So you transition. So as a student pilot and a private pilot, all through your training, you're going to be in the left seat, right? Your instructor will be in the right seat.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to flight instructor, which is after my multi-engine, I'm going for flight instructor, you're going to transition to the right seat. So you have to learn how to adapt to, because it's different. Imagine you go to UK and instead of driving on the left seat that we're used to here, you have to fly. It's going to be weird. It's going to feel weird. So you're going to have to learn how to do everything from the right seat, teach it too. So as you're not just flying, you know, when you're flying, you want to lock in, you want to focus.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to teach all those things too on the right seat. And as you're landing, you have to be able to vocalize, hey, this is what's happening. So during, again, the examination we do to get our license is called a check ride, which includes an oral and a flight portion. You know, you have to do everything. And in the flight, you can't basically fail anything. You have to be able to do everything the examiner asks you. You can't even fail once. Yes. Again, you do it. So if you train well, you've done it so many times, that shouldn't be a problem. The only thing, how I said have personal minimums, right? So you know how I say there's a requirement, you can't fly under thunderstorms. Your personal minimums to, okay, you can look at the weather, we check the weather before every flight. The winds are like moving at like 20 miles an hour today. Personally, it's legal for me to fly, but personally, I don't feel comfortable with it. So you can make that decision yourself.
Yeah.
No one will ever force you to fly in conditions you don't feel comfortable. So same thing too in your exam, like you say, okay, the weather is wind, I want to get my license, but if you mess up because of the wind, because maneuvers are harder when there's more wind, when the winds are stronger, and so you can say, do I feel comfortable making this flight? No. Okay, then don't fly. It's just that simple. They always tell you there's a legal requirement and there's your personal requirements. So legally, just because you can do it, right? I'm an instrument rated pilot. I can fly in bad weather conditions. But it's raining out there because I have the license. Should I take that unnecessary risk and fly? No.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to make all the decisions for yourself too. Or, I drank yesterday, you know what I'm saying? I'm sober now. I mean, I'm not hungover. So after you take alcohol, by the way, you have to wait 8 hours before you can fly. That's the regulation. So even though, like, okay, you know yourself, right? Yeah, some people, they can drink like a whole they can drink like a whole pack of beers and be okay the next day. Then there are people like me. I drink a little bit. I'm gone I'm out for the whole day. So just because legally it says 8 hours after I drink, I can fly. If I feel a little bit sick, I know myself, will I still fly? No, So you have to learn how to make this, they call it aeronautical decision making. So just because something is legal, right, doesn't mean you are flying again. More room for, you don't want no mistakes happening.
Yeah.
So they always say, what are your personal minimums? The examiner will ask you that, your instructors will ask you that. So you have to even create a sheet. And as you go through flight training, those minimums will increase, you feel more comfortable going to more turbulent things, you get more proficient. But at the same time, like, there's certain weather conditions, like personal, I know I can do it. Or I have my own personal weather conditions I can fly in. Then I have one for passengers. Like if I'm flying with passengers and the wind is pushing me left and right, just because I'm comfortable with it does not mean, I'm gonna take someone else. And you're going through. I've taken someone flying before, a neighbor of mine, and she wanted me to do a maneuver, and I did it, and it was kind of turbulent, and she threw up on my face. What I was doing, I was like, I had a plane in like a band like this, and she threw up, and it touched my face, and I couldn't land for another 15 minutes. And so you have to consider all those things.
Oh my God. Yeah. You got throw up on your face?
Yes, I had. And you can't just like land anywhere. You have to like get that clearance to land, at the traffic pattern land. She kept on apologizing. I'm so sorry. I was like, this is my fault. I knew that I should have just so from that day forward, okay, when there are passengers, I'm not going to fly under this weather condition. You can check like a day prior, pretty much be accurate.
Yeah.
So yeah, after you get your flight instructor 1 and 2, so when you get your flight instructor, when you're teaching people how to fly, you ask your own flight hours. Then if I teach you for 2 hours, right? You can log 2 hours in your logbook. So we all have a pilot logbook. You log your 2 hours, and me as an instructor, since I was teaching you, I can log this time. So like the fastest way to view those 1,500 hours is to teach. Yes.
Yeah. And that's what you're going to do next?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by the end of my program, I will have my flight instructor 1 and 2. And then my school hires alumni, you know what I'm saying? So apply there, you know what I'm saying? Teach till I get to those hours.
Yeah. Do you plan on working for any big commercial airlines?
Yes.
At the very end? Is that the end goal?
Yep. That's the end goal.
What airline would you work for?
Well, the market right now is competitive, but like really, I mean, the big ones, United, Delta,
Yeah.
You can when you're done with your training, you go to the regionals. So regionals are like, they fly within the United States, really. You start with those, and then from there you transition to the big airlines, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, one of those big ones I might go, my end goal, United, Delta. I want to fly internationally when all this is over.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Would you once you get over there internationally, would you be able to just fly yourself to Nigeria if you can like rent the plane?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, pretty expensive, but yeah.
I would abuse that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like oh, I know how to fly. Why pay for a ticket where I could just fly myself there?
And at my end goal, I might not spend I'll give aviation a couple of years, but I want to open a flight school,
Oh, okay.
with I have a friend who already has his licenses, he's into general aviation business right now. Shout out Carrie. And so we plan to open a flight school together.
Yeah.
Went to the same high school. And yeah, make it more affordable for people. Because flight school can be expensive. You have to go into loans if you don't have benefit. There are scholarships out there, but a lot of people are not patient, I want to open like an affordable flight school. I did when this is all said and done. So if, I know, hey, you want to be a pilot, you know what I'm saying? It won't drain your bank account. You can come in. Fly, because I believe a lot of people, it's one of those things where you wouldn't even know you have a talent for.
Yeah.
Until you're doing it, when you get past the fear. I know a lot of people, you just admit if you can go through boot camp as a Marine, you can be a pilot. Oh, I believe that. Because it takes more discipline and stuff to go through that. It's just a mental something, you just have to be accepting of, okay, hey, you know what? I need to be calm. I need to be composed. It's a mindset, really. The biggest thing, the hardest part of aviation is mental. Like, I'm flying right now. Oh my, I don't want to die. If you can get past that, it's easy.
Yeah.
100%.
It sounds like it's super technical, but it's a lot of mental base.
Yeah.
Like you need a motivated go-getter kind of mentality. Like, hey, because I don't think a lot of people go, I want to be a pilot. And, go for it. Yeah, instead of you. Yeah, I love to travel. So I was super interested in how it goes on your end.
Yeah.
And now I know that sometimes there's delays. It's like, okay, there's real deal. But it's also not just that, but it's probably like this dude is the whoever's flying is probably like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. It's not just it gives me more of because a lot of people get mad when there's delays or flights are canceled.
Yeah.
And I've been on the side of there's the entitlement of people with high reward statuses.
Right.
I wrote a little semi essay on it and posted it, and I called it elite travelers or something. And because I witnessed a lot of this year I went to Miami, and this guy was flashing his like diamond something. It was like, you're gonna give me the C, yada yada yada, and they're all just being entitled. And then I've been on the sides where planes are delayed and people are at the counter yelling at these poor airline employees, and it's like it's not even them that are making those calls.
With that again, hey, I'm not saying like that's the case in all situations, but if your flight is canceled, sometimes there's always a reason. If there's bad unsafe weather, and maybe your flight path includes like flying through like a thunderstorm or turbulence.
Yeah.
That decision is made based off that sometimes. So like if you're out there like mad about your flight, then that could save your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, would you rather, wherever you're going can wait, if you have your life, you can take many more flights.
Yeah.
So once you know the inner workings, like when I got into aviation, and I'm not even fully exposed yet, but once I knew like certain things, certain conditions, because they would say the biggest thing, we have an acronym, right? PAVE, right? So before every flight, that PAVE stuff, you go through it. So P is pilot, right? Conditions of the pilot, like, am I good to fly?
Yeah.
Right? Is everything okay with me mentally? Am I taking any over-the-counter medications that would affect my cognitive, abilities and everything? So once you check your well-being, do I have like my licenses, everything on me that I need to fly with? Once the pilot is good, once that list checks out, you go to the aircraft. That's the condition of the aircraft. So you look at the inspections. There's required inspections. There's all that. Has this been done? Is the aircraft in good conditions, or is there like something questionable there? If there's any sort of questions, you don't take that risk. Don't fly.
Yeah.
Aircraft. V, environment. Right now, you want to check the environment of like your flight path, the airport you're flying to, the airport you're coming from, the airport along the ways. What is the weather like? You know what I'm saying? What is like what's going on and like everything. And then E is external pressures, which is one of the biggest ones. This is what they emphasize. the biggest problem is, okay, I told you I'm going to fly you tomorrow, right? And then the weather changes, you know, and you're so excited. You're like, dude, you know, I'm bringing my girlfriend with me. I'm bringing this chick I'm trying to invite, you know, like, yo, let's just try and make this flight happen, bro. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm being pressured, you know, into like, okay, oh man, I don't want to disappoint my friend. You know what I'm saying? Let me take you up there and everything. But that's the biggest one. So external pressure. So, and a lot of pilots feel it too when people are like, they don't like to like just cancel the flights, you know, the airlines and everything. They don't like to, if it's convenient, they'll take you there. But there's probably some inner workings that makes that flight unsafe, you know, and if it's unsafe, you know, hey, that's it. We're trained to just stop it, cancel. It doesn't matter. The constant, like, that's the right thing to do. You know what I'm saying? So,
it's, I always it makes me think of people who speed during driving.
Yep.
And they're like so added to get there. And it's like, regardless of everything, traffic, accidents, you're going to get to your destination.
Right.
And that's what I can kind of compare it to. Obviously, I don't know of the
that's a
flying,
but
yeah, I never thought that external factors would be like a thing.
Oh, no, that's the biggest one, because a lot of all this regulations and stuff is based off like real life incidents, right? Anytime like there's an aviation incident in history, they'll come together, you know, they'll revise it, they'll see what went wrong, and they will add or subtract regulations based off real life problems. You know what I'm saying? And external pressures has been like one of the biggest one. Like, you see what happened to Kobe Bryant or something? Like, that pilot has been flying for years, so they call you the PIC, the pilot in command, right? At the end of the day, even if your employer is a billionaire or a millionaire and they're trying to pressure you to fly, if they're gonna give you a bonus of $2 million, if you're not alive to use it, like, what's the point?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So even if that's where the external pressure come in, like, because there are a lot of private pilots that work for like millionaires, billionaires, you know, they fly them privately and everything. You know what I'm saying? External pressures come in that too. You know, it's unsafe. You know, the pilot was so experienced. Actually, he's been flying for years. You know, way like you wouldn't even think you'll make that kind of mistake. You know what I'm saying? When you're flying to a place you have not been before, like a terrain, you have to also account for like the buildings there, how high, because by regulations you're supposed to fly 1,000 feet above the tallest building.
Okay.
Yeah, in the area. You know what I'm saying? So if you're flying through somewhere and like the building is like 500 feet tall, you're supposed to 1,000 above that. You know what I'm saying? In a congested area especially. So you don't let no one pressure you. You know, if there's bad weather, there's fog, right? What does fog do? A fog, I've been up there before, and I've flown past a mountainous area, and the fog completely covered the mountains, like there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Yep. So even if I have my instrument rating, like I'm flying that condition, in those conditions, if you're flying through fog and fog can cover mountains, you can check in the sectional to see, right? The general area, but covers the mountain, you fly through there, you don't know something is there, boom, that's it. You know what I'm saying? So you that's why we do all this critical pre-flight actions. That's what we call it. Like, we check everything, the route we're going. Okay, this is the tallest. This mountain is about 2,000 feet, so I'm gonna keep this altitude this high. This is how high I'm gonna fly. You know what I'm saying? So you have to consider everything. You know, and the biggest problem, you know, and this is a crazy fact. The people, experienced pilots, make the most mistakes versus new pilots. Experienced pilots, have you ever been at a job? Oh, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been doing this for 30 years. You know, you try to come and do something by the book, and they're like, that book ain't teach you nothing really. You know, the experience. I mean, to an extent, I agree. You know, you can learn a lot from experienced people based on, like, you know, they've been doing it for a while. But that also creates complacency. And aviation is a kind of field where you don't want to be complacent in any way. Like, before every approach, you have to use your checklist good, right? Someone who has been flying for a while, I've been flying for like 2-3 years, and I already know certain things like off the top of my head. But even after I go through the flow, I still confirm with the checklist to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, because you are human and there's always that room for error, right? So it's the same thing. Like, experienced pilot, because of how much they've been flying, they make statistically they have made the most mistakes. Because of that, it takes one, thinking about my wife and a divorce or something, it just takes one thought to forget something critical during flight.
Yeah.
You know, new pilots were always so like, oh man, let me go through, let me make sure everything is as it's supposed to be, right? Like experienced pilot, I've been doing this, you know. Imagine, you know what? I kind of understand. You've been doing something for 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
right? It's something you do every day. Again, but you're a human. And there's always space for that error to happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's better to do your due diligence. You know, you have people's life in your hands. Go through everything you're supposed to go through. If you don't feel comfortable going through a route, don't go. Hey, if you're going, but if someone is going, if your employer is we're going to fire you because you don't want to do this, you have your life. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of aviation incidents and accidents that happened, which was based on external pressure. The pilot was being pressured and didn't fly. If you ever fly with a pilot and they tell you, I don't feel comfortable doing this, listen, it's for a good reason.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I had a image of what I was gonna listen to, or kind of learn, but this is a lot more than I expected. Yeah. Now I'm gonna go into these flights and I'm just gonna be like, you know what, man, I'm just gonna sit in my chair, keep listening to my music. Oh, flight's delayed. Okay, I guess.
When we fly together, I'm gonna actually have you control the plane. So don't, Oh, get ready for that. Just it's more to show. I do that with anyone I fly with, just to show like aviation is not scary. You turn the plane, it's gonna turn too. You do what the plane is gonna. It's just like you're in control of a plane. You tell it to do something, it does it. You know what I'm saying? It's really not that scary. Aviation is actually, air transportation is the safest transportation statistically. It's just like when an accident happened.
Yeah.
No, there's no really like you most likely will, you know. But as far as like accident reports and everything, is the safest by far.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was reading about that. Yeah. I was gonna bring it up later, but I guess you brought it up now. It's only a big deal because it's a plane and how many people are in it, and it's super expensive. But car accidents are so common. I think America is in like the top 10 or 5 countries. I did when I was still going to school. A presentation on the Autobahn in Germany. And how it has so many rules, but Germany is like a safe place to drive because of how many rules they have. I think if I remember correctly. But America's pretty up there with accidents. And one of the things I came across was driving has more accidents than flying. It's just that when a plane goes down,
you most likely will.
You're gonna hear about it. Oh, whatever plane crashed here or dropped here. And that's also worth millions of dollars. Or billions, millions, probably millions, huh?
And if you think about it, right, flights happen every day. You know what I'm saying? And you barely hear of like plane crashes. You know, this year has been more crazy than the other years. But if you think about it, the amount of plane crashes you see because anytime a plane crash happens, you always see it on the news, guaranteed. But think about it, almost 7 days a week, planes fly every day all over the world. Now imagine the amount of news you hear about plane crashes. It's very safe. They go through the motion. It's just, again, when an actual failure happens, when a plane crash happens, the chances of survival are low. But it is very safe. It has to be like for an airline, because a plane crash can be plane mechanical error or pilot error, right? And for the most part, like, it's possible that and a lot of plane crashes were due to pilot error. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, airlines they pick up the best pilots, you know. But there's always that human factor that can happen. That's why they always say, go through the motions. How are you mentally? How are you? Did you take any medication? Did you drink? You know, they put no matter how good a system is, you know, there's always going to be bound to be accidents. There's always going to be bound. This is the world we live in. Like, there's always going to be, we could have like AI flying planes right now, right? And there's still going to be accidents sometime.
Yeah.
Because there's always that room for error. That's just the world we live in. But if you think about the amount of times like plane operations happen every day and the amount of times you hear about plane crashes, it's really superb how, you know, it is. Now, if you go on and use cars every single day, on my way here, I saw a car, you know, like that was crashed. That's just how it is, you know. Think about it, you're flying. You don't have like traffic on the sky. You have all this space to you.
Yeah.
You know, even if pilots make errors all the time while flying. You just wouldn't know about it. Aviation is about making errors and correcting them. You could plan out, okay, I'm going to fly this way. This is where the route I'm going to fly. This is the direction, the heading I'm going to keep, right? But the turbulence come and hit you out of that stuff, right? And you have to correct for it. It gives room for error and correction. You just don't make a critical error. That's what it is. So,
how has flying? So there's all these technicalities and all this stuff you've learned. How has this changed you as a person? Like you personally, like were you ready for all these technicalities? Were you always like a person that is self-motivated to go do these things and learn more, or did you?
I was a very nonchalant person, and I'm like one of the, if you know me, I'm one of the most nonchalant. Like, I had to learn how to pay attention, like, pretty hard, and flying changes everything about you, even the way you drive. You know what I'm saying? Like when you want to take off, when you want to land, you have to be, there's like a line in the middle of the run with the center line. Your tires, your front, your nose will have to be aligned with with those lines during takeoff, during landing. You have to maintain. So like I see sometimes when I'm driving, what I'm saying, as if I'm in the plane, I'm like, I have to stay to my lane. I can't veer off the lane because what if another plane comes and crashes into me? So it's just like mentally, it changes the way you even drive. With planes, when you're flying, so you don't over control. You just give it slight corrections or slight, you slightly turn it. The plane will do what it wants to do, Yeah. So, and fun fact. So what was weird for me was when I started learning how to fly. So the control wheel of the plane on the ground, it doesn't steer the plane. It steers the plane on the air, right? But on the ground, it does not do anything. If you move it left or right, that's it. Because there's no air flowing through it while it's on the ground. It's like a car. You use the pedals of the plane. It has the left and right pedals, right?
Oh,
to turn the plane on the ground.
Yeah.
So at the top of those pedals, if you put the top of the pedals, that's where the brakes are. So this the pedals like this, right? You step here. So if I wanted to turn to the right, I step on the right pedal, and then you turn the plane to the right. So on the ground, that doesn't do anything at all. Yeah, it's fascinating, right?
Cool.
Yeah. So and then if you step on the top of the pedals, you just put like your foot, the top of your feet there. You brake the plane. To accelerate the plane, we have a throttle on the side. You don't need nothing there. You just kind of pull the throttle in, and it adds the RPM into the engine and accelerate the plane. So now that changes when you're flying. You take off full power. You rotate. You're on the air, right? Now, if you want to turn the plane now, so the pedals still have something to do, right? The control wheel rolls up. So this is the motion. You hit the control wheel. It moves the plane this way, right, left, right. Now the pedals turns the nose of the plane, right, so left and right.
Yeah.
While the control wheel kind of rolls. So the ailerons of the plane, they're in the wing. Have you ever seen a plane turning? You see like part of the wing go up, down.
I have.
So that's what so it displaces the air to turn the plane. I don't want to get into the science of that, but as it turns the plane, so when you're turning the plane like to the left and right for like a smooth turn, you want to roll the plane, right? And you also want to step on the pedals to get that. So left pedal, left wheel, control wheel, and then you have a smooth turn. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of like fascinating things you won't even know. So on the ground while you're taxing everything, you're using the pedals to it was so trippy when I started first.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh my God, okay, if you're uncoordinated, it's like kind of like riding a bicycle in a way. So my plane was going left and right. So even the way I was driving sometimes, I started to like, okay, let me coordinate myself when I'm driving. It just changes like how you have to be very level headed when you're flying. You have to be like very calm, cool. You also legally too. You're just thinking about, okay, if you get arrested for a DUI, you lose your pilot license. You don't know about that, yes. So they revoke everything. It teaches you to be responsible to life. The decisions you make, you know what I'm saying? And in the future, I want to fly for the airlines. If I have all these legal troubles and stuff, you know what I'm saying? While I'm in aviation training, especially when I'm in aviation training, it could affect a career. So you want to like keep a clean slate. Also with the vision aspect, you need a vision, 2020 vision to work in the airlines. Now so we have 3 medicals. We have a class 1, 2, and 3 medicals. You can start with the class 3, it's less requirements. you can start you can start aviation training, get some of your license with the class 3 medical. But for you to fly in the airlines, you need a class 1. But if you don't like, I don't have a 2020 vision. Actually, when I started last year, I failed my eye test. I was like, damn. When I started aviation school, I had a 2020 vision, but barely. And I remember in boot camp, when they do all those tests for you, the doctor told me, hey, in about a year, you're gonna start needing glasses, just so you know. So I didn't take it serious. So when I was about to start, I barely passed with class 1 medical. But if you don't have it, you don't have to panic. You can correct it with glasses. So this year, that's why I started wearing glasses.
Okay.
Because you never saw me with glasses before. Yeah. This year, I corrected. So with the glasses, I have 20/20 vision. The only stipulation is when you fly, you have to have the glasses on.
Okay.
So when you start working for the airlines, and as long as your vision can correct, with glasses or what you call it, some people get LASIK surgery, but
yeah, so I've heard mixed emotions.
Yeah.
So it changes the way you drive on a car.
Yes.
How does it change you mentally as far as like as a person? Do you become more small detail oriented because you'd go through all these checklists?
Yes.
Do you get more small detail with like people?
Yes.
Like
you pay attention to detail. It is like it puts you in a mindset where everything has to be how it's supposed to be. Yeah, it definitely changed how like my thought process, especially when I got my private pilot license, at first, and I was like, this was 2-3 years ago, but because I didn't continue back then, flying for pleasure, but I didn't continue back then because I had too many things going on. I had to go to drill, so that's why I left this year, January. I said, okay, you know what? I don't have to go to drill. I don't have to cut my training short. People do it too.
Yeah.
So I can just let me see through, and if I wanted to come back next year, I will. Let me just finish aviation school. It makes you very detailed. You pay attention to detail. You're like, okay, this has to be this way. With aviation training, right? Like, so I'll give you an example. If you are part of like the evaluation, right? If let's say you're doing a maneuver, right? And they say, okay, don't drop your altitude. If you start at 3,000 feet, you have to end at 3,000 feet. But they give you a room for error for like maybe 100 feet. So you can descend 100 feet or climb 100 feet. And that will still be in like, you can still pass, But the mentality you want to have is like, okay, even though I have this room for error, right? Imagine if they give you 100 feet and you're like, you start at 3,000 feet, you're at 2,099 feet, right? You know what I'm saying? Now, if you make a mistake, you can overshoot because you are getting complacent. You are nearing closer to like the error they gave you.
Yeah.
So you have to keep that discipline where, okay, you know what? I'm starting at 3,000 feet. I'm going to end at 3,000 feet exactly. So if I bump a little bit, if the wind bumped me to 20 feet extra, 3,020 feet, you're still good.
Still good. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it kind of like makes you not complacent on like, little things. Like use your attention to details and stuff. And, in military folks, like, you are taught to do that in boot camp anyway. That's why I feel like a lot of crazy story. My flight school, a Marine I met 3 years ago during one of the annual training we went for, different unit. I saw him once. I didn't even talk to him. He was a corporal back then. I was on Lance. I saw him. We like head high. I met him in my flight school. Yeah, he started like last. He's done already with the program and everything. Like he's finished. I was like, wait, I think I've seen you before. Are you a Marine? I knew he wasn't from our unit. And he was like, yeah, like I just he said he left this year too. He finished. He started January. He's finished the whole program already. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty.
All 3 licenses?
Yeah, no, more than he got 1, 2, 3, so 6 licenses.
6 licenses.
So again, it's private pilots.
Yep.
Instrument rating. Commercial, multi-engine rating, and certified flight instructor 1 and certified flight instructor 2. No, those 2 again, they're not officially they're not necessary, but everything you have as to your resume when you're applying for the airline.
Yeah. So he probably just did it to get his 1,500 hours.
Yep, he's doing it, and he's gonna. I think he's a flight instructor in a different location, in a different state.
Right, that's pretty cool.
So you can, in my school is a fast track program, by the way. If you go through a 4-year college, it can take you 3-4 years to finish everything. But my school, you get it under like 15 months, 16 months.
Wow, that's fast.
Yep, fast track. Yeah. So, but in exchange, you're flying 6 to 7 times a week, studying, flying, everything. So I barely, just because I got this license, I have a little break. I was like, when I start back next week, I'm going to be at school 6 to 7 days a week. So Sunday to Saturday.
How long are you in school for?
I have 2 months left for everything.
Okay.
But unless, like, there's room for weather, you have flight cancellation if the weather is bad. So in the winter.
How many hours a day do you spend dedicated to studying, flying, all, like, if you were to start, I guess what would a normal day look like for you? Because you're doing it every day.
Yeah. So, you wake up in the morning, so I stay in, my school provides housing for a lot of people. Because, people out of state.
Yeah.
Still. But with me, like, I lived an hour. So at first I was still, they'll tell you if you're in a fast track program, aviation program, you have to quit your job. And I had a good job, that it was paying like $40 an hour, and I've been there for like 5 years, it was like one of the medical jobs. And I was like, damn, I've put so much into it. So they were like, I got my first license. I was driving 1 hour, 30 minutes to school every day.
Wow.
And I was working a night shift. I was studying at night. I was getting it done, but I wasn't getting enough sleep, which is unsafe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I was like, I thought I would, chalk up on a monster. And so I was doing that. But, one of those days I came in and my eyes was red, and my instructor was like, okay, do you still work? Be honest with me. I said, yes, I do. He said, you have to, the school pays you a stipend every month. Even though it's not it's like 1,800 a month. So it's ATP flight school, but if you're not work, they'll tell you, hey, you have to dedicate your whole life to this till you finish your program. Don't get nobody pregnant. Like, make sure you can fully, so your life becomes cool. So I wake up in the morning. You have to study at least for 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
Now you can go fly. You have a ground lesson when you're an instructor or a flight. And if the weather is bad, like winter is very common for flight to be canceled, or like the ceilings are too low. The cloud ceilings are low. They can say, okay, instead of flying, let's do a simulator together, or let's do a ground lesson with an instructor. So you spend like 2 hours flying a day, but there are like special circumstances where, like during commercial, I've had like a 5-hour flight before. I had to do like a cross country day and night, and so those flights. So once in a while, you have special flights that will take longer, but in average, when you fly, it's for like 2 hours a day.
Okay.
So you fly for 2 hours a day. You study for at least 3 hours a day, and then your written test. You always want to do your written test. You can even do. Good thing about the written test, you can do a future written test for a future license. It's valid for like, I think 3-4 years. I've forgotten like the actual, but you can. So while you're in a phase, you're always doing something. There's something to study towards. And the thing with the written test is not super hard, based on, because so for the private pilot, right, is 100 question.
Yeah.
For the instrument rating is 50. For the commercial is 100 question. Then you have the multi doesn't have a written phase, because it's still, so the multi-engine is a rating, right? They call it multi-engine with commercial add-on. So it's still like a commercial license.
Yeah.
Commercial license covers both your commercial and multi. Your flight instructor, you do 2 different written tests. There's one they call the FIA, and then the FOI, the fundamentals of instructing. So you have to learn how to be a teacher first, because you're teaching people, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people,
engineer,
man,
teacher,
there's a lot. It encompasses a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you study, really, by school policy, ATP's policy, you have to study like 3 hours a day. It helps. But if you can do more, like, why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it gets to the point where I'm bored, I'm sitting down, I have a YouTube video of aviation. Like, throughout coming here, your whole life just has to be dedicated to it, because when you finish, it will pay off. You know what I'm saying? The biggest thing about, I think, people who are unable to finish aviation school is just commitment. It's not how hard it is. If something is hard for you, like, personally, I'm not a reader, right? I don't like reading. Like, my attention span is short when it comes to reading. But I found out through this program, like, I'm a visual learner.
Yeah.
So every aviation concept I don't understand, I just go on YouTube videos and I watch like videos of like people who animate stuff, and they animate those concepts,
Yeah.
Like, about the engine, they break it down, show the parts, and I can visually see. And things that takes like 2 hours to read, I learn it under like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I'm visually seeing what you're doing and I take notes. You know what I'm saying? So everyone has like a different, you just because, hey, you might be saying to yourself, I can't sit down and study and read. Okay, then a different study method that works for you. Like, there are certain times where I was taught something, I just could not grasp the concepts. I went through this a lot. And I just go on YouTube. They have pilots who have been flying for 30, 40 years. They will break it down so easily. So it might even be like the teaching style of that instructor. It does not just fit to what, because I won't even lie. A lot of people are not good teachers. They're good pilots. They're good pilots, but they're not good teachers. Because imagine, like, I'm in a fast track program. I'm going to be an instructor. You have to have a talent for teaching. Some people don't. So that's why I say a lot of your self-effort matters too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if I don't understand the concept, I don't panic. I just go on YouTube. Hey, what's this concept? I see what other pilots have to say about it. And there's more than likely, there's always going to be one or two that I would understand watching it.
Yeah, that is super true. You have to learn people's learning styles too.
Yeah.
As a teacher, you probably have to develop so many.
Right.
Because if you get like if you get a student like you,
yes,
you're like,
really.
Hey, this helps me. Yeah. Maybe it'll help you.
Yeah, when I'm studying, when I'm trying to read, it's like I have minions dancing in my brain. It's like I cannot sometimes I was like, something wrong with me. But when I just found out, like, hey, I could go on YouTube, I watch, like, there's this channel, breaks down, animates every concept. When I see it, I said, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Versus trying to imagine something. If they're talking about, like, the turbine system of the engine, how it propels, how, like, the magnetos tap the engine and all that, I just cannot visualize it because, you know what I'm saying? I just cannot visualize it because I'm not in the plane engine seeing how it works.
Yeah.
I don't even know how this part looks like they're talking about. But when I watch, like, the videos, and I see the concepts, like I can see, like, they're, like, breaking down the pieces, the mechanical parts of the plane.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay, this makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. So. It's like when we learned how to break down our M16.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like,
imagine just reading it.
Reading it, it's like, take out the bow from the bow carrier group, and you're like,
yes.
So what does that even look like?
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot.
It sounds like it, but it's like one of those things when you go into it, it's like everything falls in place naturally.
Yeah. How does the world look like to you from up there? Because up there, like, for me, I've skydived twice now.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to do it every, like, more.
That's awesome.
And I think one of my favorite parts about it, the free fall is dope when you're just free falling, you're, like, going down super fast.
That's awesome.
But the other part I've enjoyed is when the person that has you on the chute opens the chute up and you're just chilling.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And you look at the ground and you're like, man, what are my problems, bro? Like, everything is, you look at the cars and they're so tiny and you're like, what am I even worried about? Yeah. I'm just up here enjoying the view. Do you feel that way when you fly?
Yeah. So, well, when I take personal flights, because when I'm under training from these instructors, I'm doing all this engine failure maneuvers, you're not thinking, you're just thinking about focusing and, like, landing the plane and everything. But when I've taken personal flight for pleasure, the world is just so peaceful. I've seen the sunset when I'm flying, you know what I'm saying?
And it has to
I've flown through, like, the United Center and all those places, all those buildings, and the world is just so at peace, you know what I'm saying? You don't worry, you cruise the plane, you get the plane smooth and steady. The world just seems so, obviously the images are so small, if you want to and everything.
Yeah.
Just, it feels like you're, like, literally, and you're literally on top of the world, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a very good feeling.
There's I ran into a video.
Yeah.
I don't know if I sent it to you, but it's this guy, he was going through something and he stole the plane.
I know about him. Sky King.
Yeah, Sky King.
Yeah, everybody knows about him.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's what made me think of.
Yeah.
Because he was just, like, talking to the air traffic controllers.
Yeah.
And he just,
that was a good guy. He was
yeah, I think he had prior military experience too.
Yeah.
I think he was a pilot in the military.
Oh, that's awesome.
Don't quote me on it.
Yeah.
But he was basically like, it's just like, I'm on top of the world. I feel so good right now. I feel so peaceful. And I'm just like, I think he landed and killed himself after.
Yeah.
Like, that was his goal.
Yeah.
Like, he was going through mental stuff.
Yeah.
And it made me think, it's like, how does it feel to be up there?
Well, you're going to know soon. So,
well,
because being on a plane and being on the cockpit is different. Like, I know you have taken flights before and everything.
Yeah, I have.
When you're in the cockpit, and from that perspective, it's a whole different feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole different feeling.
I often before I went skydiving, and that one happened spontaneously.
Yeah.
My friend looked at a sign.
Yeah.
Was like, "Do you want to go skydiving?"
Yeah.
And I was like,
"That's awesome."
"What?" And then we went, and it was so dope. Like, I love it. I want to get my own skydiving license.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
like that much. I love it.
That's awesome.
And when you mentioned, when I asked you if you wanted to come on and talk, you were like, "Oh yeah, we can also fly after." And I was just like, "Oh, this is dope."
It is. It is.
I'm super excited to do that. Because I don't know, there's just ever since I experienced that, it's so peaceful up there.
It is.
And I use the time when I travel, especially on a plane. I don't know what it is about the airport and being on a plane, but I get so many creative ideas too.
Yeah.
I've often write on the way to a destination.
Yeah.
On the plane, I read, and then I usually get like ideas.
Yeah.
That I usually post about, or I started recently posting, because all this stuff, like the podcast, the writing, all this stuff is so recent.
Yeah.
It's stuff that I've been doing in private for so long, but now it's public, and it's like I get anxious about it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, I think I'm trying to do a positive thing.
Yeah.
So I try not to let it be too much in my head. But
you're doing a great job so far. I've been watching all the videos you have. So
thank you. I try. I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah.
I'm very to the small details, as I think they matter, because after, like, I'm sure your checks, like all those little small checks lead to not gonna fly the plane.
Right.
For me, it's like all the little stuff is like, I now post the episode.
Yeah.
I now post this essay that has been stuck in my head for like weeks.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I wonder how sunset looks from it.
It is
nice.
It's nice. It's nice. I'll plan sooner than later. So because I'm back in my program soon, but I can squeeze out 1 or 2 days. So I'll let you know, like maybe 2-3 day prior notice.
Yeah,
I'll let you know. And then we go up there. You see how it is. Different feeling. Like you can fly, control the plane a little bit. You see, like not scary at all.
We'll see. Go how you go, man. No, this is awesome, man. Yeah. What is the most, like, where you were scared? Like so much adrenaline went to. I don't know if you ever had so much adrenaline where your body like shakes.
Yeah, definitely.
What is the one moment that you were like that?
No, so too, I mentioned the emergency descent the first time that my instructor did that, and then so there's something they call the stalls, right? So okay, I didn't want to get too much into the science of this aircraft, how it works, but so for an airplane to fly, right, it creates lift, right?
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much like this is the relative wind. Wind is like just wind moving, and then this is the airplane, right? The relative wind hits under the wing and on top of the wing, right? Now you have to go through Newton's third law, pressure. So basically, there's high pressure under the wing, lower pressure on top of the wing, right?
Yeah.
And the high pressure on the wing pushes the plane up, and that's how you create lift to fly. Now, again, I mentioned the relative wind, right? The wind is flying. So we call the wings of the plane an airfoil, right? That's what it's called. So an airfoil is basically anything that the wind can act upon. It doesn't have to be like a plane wing. Anything like the air can act upon to create lift. That's what an airfoil is. Now, again, you are like, when you're a pilot, you are like a science person. Yeah, like you're a scientist. So now, this is the wing of the plane, right? Let me give an example. Like, so this is the wing of the plane. The air is hitting it, creating lift, pushing it up.
Yeah.
Now, there's what they call a stall. We know, like, there's spins, right? Like, planes can spin and stuff, right? Now, you don't ever want to get into an inadvertent spin. Mm-hmm. Depending on how your airspeed control is, your coordination, like when you're turning, I say you step on the pedal and the aileron, you roll the plane to. If you are not coordinated, it's very possible for your plane to enter into an inadvertent spin. And the danger of a spin is if you're close to the ground, you don't have a high enough altitude.
Yeah.
If you spin is basically like a sudden loss of altitude. You're going to lose a lot of altitude in a fast amount of time, like in a fast rate.
Yeah.
And if you are like, you have not taken off, if you are not like 6,000, 7,000 feet, you are just maybe 2,000 feet or 1,000 feet, and you spin, before you can recover from the spin, you're on the ground already.
Oh, damn.
So we do spin training, but in private pilot, you don't do spin training. Basically, before your plane spins, you have to enter into what they call a stall.
Mm-hmm.
So a stall, by definition, is a sudden loss of lift, right? So if the relative wind that's pushing your wing up, if you kind of like, let's say this is the wing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the wing up there. It's at an angle, and they call this angle the angle of attack. So the angle of attack is the angle at which the relative wind hits the chord line. That's like an imaginary line on the wing of the plane.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call the angle of attack.
Yeah.
Now, for a plane to stall, that's like for the air relative wind to separate from the wing.
Mm-hmm.
That's like is defined as like the plane losing its critical angle of attack. So for example, now let's say now I'm pulling the plane up. There's a certain airspeed where the wind is going to separate from the relative wind. And when that happens, the plane stalls. You cannot produce no lift no more, and boom, you're just going to go down. But they would teach you how to, you enter into the stall yourself and you recover.
Yeah.
So they'll teach you how to recover from that. Because for a spin to happen, you have to enter a stall first. So when you get to CFI, like that's the next one after what I'm doing, they will teach you about spinning the plane. You have to spin the plane. But from private pilot, commercial, you have to stall the plane. They have a power off stall and they have a power on stall. Power stall, you go power idle, you kill the power, you stall the plane and you recover. Power on stall, you stall with some power in. And then in commercial, we do what they call accelerated stall. You stall like in a bank and there's some other stipulations. When I was doing the stall, the effect, you lose, I'm telling you, like, the feeling is insane. And, if you're comfortable with it, I'll do it to show you. I'm very good at it now, so don't worry. So the feeling is insane. It's like an angel. You're playing, just imagine you're playing pitching up. You're almost vertical like a rocket.
Yeah.
You're looking up, right? And all of a sudden, boom, you go down.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So that is what pretty much it is. So it is so, at first, without knowledge, I've read about it, I've seen it. But and they have what they call a steep turn too, where basically you're turning and your wings are like this, and you're just turning like an
circle. Yeah.
Yes, and you're playing it like this. So you imagine your orientation on the plane, like you were like planted like that. So you do all these maneuvers, but they will teach you how to keep the plane balanced. Where all this, once you learn again, once you get those reps in, like everything becomes light work to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it is.
I'm definitely gonna log it all.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll probably be a cool experience for you to. I mean, you people probably recorded you before.
Yeah, people have recorded. Well, in like a personal, not like in a public setting like this. But yeah, it's pretty nice.
To earlier is small details. I forgot to turn on the cooling fan on my camera, and at least there's no life at stake.
Human error.
But no, I appreciate you coming to talk about all this stuff and
anytime,
and offering the fact that I'm gonna get to fly in the cockpit. That sounds
yes, sir.
I'm like a fangirl right now. Just like, but no, it's pretty cool. It definitely gives me a different perspective of when I fly.
Yeah,
and hopefully whoever listens to this, they get a different perspective of if your flight is delayed.
Yes.
Don't
give them a hard time.
don't be a Karen. Don't give a hard time. Just know that you're gonna get to your destination.
Yes, sir.
Airlines want to make money,
right?
And they're trying to mitigate that human error or whatever is going on. So I appreciate you, man.
Oh, I'm glad. This is like my first time doing something like this, so I hope I did good.
Yeah, a lot of people it's all been their first time.
Yeah,
and they all like the idea of it, or it sounds cool.
Yeah.
And then they get in the chair, the lights are on, the microphone, the stage is set, and you get that little like.
Right.
That was me the first episode I did.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a little better repetitions, right?
Yeah.
The more repetitions and different iterations of it, because it's not just repetition, the same thing over and over, but a different slight tweak, a different iteration of stuff.
Same.
So, probably like you flying, not every flying experience has been the same.
Yeah.
Once you do more enough of this, it just jitters kind of go away, but they never go away because it's just that I have to get it right. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to fly, and
yes, sir,
it's gonna be dope.
It's gonna be very dope,
and I hope it helps people get a little experience. I think you're gonna be a dope as instructor.
Yeah,
I was learned so much just myself just sitting here. So, yeah, I appreciate coming out, bro.
Thank you for having me.